Yeah. So I'm going to jump right in because I want to honor your time and everybody that's on the call kind of knows how this goes. Today we're going to talk about you're more than you think, bigger than you know. The support today is for people who are career reinventors. That's something that we have a passion for, we have a professional expertise in, and so once a month, except for holiday months, we do this free webinar so that we can support the thousands and thousands of people out there who need this kind of support. So I'm going to grab the PowerPoint. We're going to jump into this. There is not a handout, so if you're looking for one, just make notes because there's no big need for a handout today. You are more than you think, bigger than you know. And the way we're going to jump into that today, and I'm going to see if I can get my PowerPoint. I'm gonna have to back out because it's freezing up my it's freezing up my share here. PowerPoint does not like
Zoom.
Zoom.
Nope.
Yeah, you know that, huh? They are not friendly. Okay, here we go. Here we go. So these are the four places we're going to go to today. We're going to honor first the multi-passionate identity that everybody has. We're going to talk about how career change doesn't have to mean starting over. And any of you that have expertise or experience or examples you want to share as we go, please share those. And we're going to share some of the reinvention roadmap. Lisa, you're really familiar with this because you went through the 6-month course and you probably printed it off and lived by it. So that's where we're going, in case you want to know. Multi-passion identity, career change doesn't have to mean starting over, and the reinvention roadmap. So, this multifaceted identity that you have, I actually addressed in the book Soul Salt, a personal field guide. And in my mind, it kind of looks like this. And you guys can see this actual illustration from the book. And I would love it if each of you would just share quickly what you know about yourself in relationship to this illustration. What do you know about yourself?
I'll go.
Yeah, go ahead.
What came to mind for me was that these different identities show
Yes.
up at different times in different situations. That's what I've discovered is who I am depending on where I am.
Can you give that's a great comment, Hillary, and I agree with you. I've seen you in many different what should I say, settings,
Yeah.
and you always seem to pull out similar pieces, but then you have these unique facets of you that show up in different industries. Give us an example of one, would you?
Okay. Um, okay. So currently, part of my career reinvention, I'm working in academic advising at Salt Lake Community College as a peer mentor. I'm on my third semester doing that. When I first showed up, I was kind of shy. Now, my new identity is one of confidence because I'm on my third semester doing it. I've got tools and I put myself out there. As soon as someone walks into the area, I offer help. It's a different identity, but it's the one that I always had. I just didn't always use. Does that
I,
answer it?
oh, yeah, thank you for that. The peer mentor, the part of you that's confident with the tools. I love it. Thank you. Really good example. Always there. Now you're using it more. Yep. Thank you, Hillary. Thanks for going first, too. I really appreciate that. Lisa, what would you share? Well, and are you on mute? I can't tell.
Yeah, I was on mute. I'm sorry. I'm coming in from doing some work that I was really focusing on, so I'm not really focused right now. But I would say, I mean, like I think that there's the soccer coach, the administrative assistant type person. I mean, there's various things that I do in different parts of my life that I like and am good at, but they're not really always the same thing, I guess.
Yeah. And one thing that I've noticed about you, and correct me if you don't like how give better language, Lisa. And let's just use the two that you mentioned, the administrative assistant and the soccer coach. When you look at both of those, you found an expertise and an identity that attaches to supporting others and lifting them and helping them get to their goals. Would you agree with that?
Yeah,
Yeah. And that seems to really satisfy you as well. It's not a pseudo strength. It's not something that I mentioned in my book that if you do it for a long time burns you out, correct?
correct.
Okay. Thank you. Those really good examples. Asia, what do you want to say? How do you want to add?
So as I'm looking at this, I can see myself in the appreciation that people see me in a particular way. Um, and then appreciate, more and more that comes in and then I look back at things and I'm like, wow, I've really identified with those things. And so I've actually been blind to some of the things that I feel I could know about myself, or maybe I've just kind of downplayed a little bit about myself. So
Yeah.
in my own reinvention, I'm finding that I have some personal doubts, I guess, or struggles, or I don't see myself as quite the, having the command or that kind of idea of something that somebody else hasn't really pointed out. You know what I'm saying? Like, so even my own anchoring into getting that outside feedback has had a little bit more stage time than anything else that maybe I want to bring forward too. So that's part of what I'm seeing here for me.
Thank you for sharing that. Can we riff off of that for just a minute, Asia? Because I
Sure,
know
sure.
you shared some Marco Polos with me recently, so I'm a little privy to a few things.
Uh-huh.
What's standing out right now, and maybe people that are going to be listening to the recording or listening in now, is that statement of you've been blind to some things that you could know about yourself. And one of the things I've noticed as you've gone through about a 7-month learning curve with applying for jobs, you've been able to have pieces of yourself reflected back, and
Mhm.
you could see yourself working in some of these new settings that you may not have even considered a year or two or three ago. Is that true?
Yeah, that's accurate. Yep.
And so when you said, anchoring in, can you maybe double click on that if you don't mind?
Mhm.
And you can tell me if you do, and we don't have to go there. I wonder if you would mind anchoring into how you have integrated or embodied some of the stuff, because you use the word anchoring, that outside feedback, some of the elements and variables of yourself that you've been able to anchor into and believe in or leverage.
So I would say that some of the anchoring in that I've done has been positive because it's one of those things where maybe somebody or a group of people or whatever has pointed out, wow, you're really good at X, or gosh, I really appreciated Y. And then because that was something new to me, I'd like to say I would explore that more, but I could see how that wasn't necessarily coming from within me. So that I could say that I appreciated that, but then it kind of crystallized itself in that way. So when in this specifically in the job interviewing process, having responses or being recommended or making being a finalist in a number of the different things that I've positions that I've interviewed for, well, the feedback that it was coming from within me was like, wow, like I never expected to interview that well, perform that well, be considered for this position. What is it that I had kind of like labeled myself as that kind of, like kept me from even seeing those parts that
Mm.
others were seeing in me.
Can I
I
make
didn't
a
recognize
comment?
it.
Mhm.
So, what is so interesting to me is how you made that observation that the things that were happening, and then you decided to act on it. What
Yeah.
was it that allowed that to happen? Because
Mm,
that was the magic, I think. And Lynn, I'd like to hear from you. How does this relate to the reflected best self exercise, and are they related?
They are related. Yes, you're really picking up on that. So let's see what Asia, how she answers that because it's a very astute call there, Hillary. Go ahead, Asia.
Well, so I've been doing, I'm not, I'm familiar with personal work. And as that personal, like diving into self and reflecting, one of the things that has come up really big for me over the last, I would say, couple of years, but it's just even gotten more and more concentrated, is recognizing how influential other people or other things are on my own responses and choices. And let me give a really quick example. Like, this is a funny one, but it was really happening. I the car I was in was getting really up there in miles, like over, 250,000. And I'm like, ooh, I might have to replace this soon. Nothing was giving me any indication that it had. And my daughter came along and she says, you know what I think you would enjoy driving is one of these Honda trucks, a Ridgeline. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And once that was kind of dropped in there for me, I just started actively looking. Like, it was such an influence that I ended up buying one. And then not long after that, realized that the car that I had had was really more suited to the way I was living my life than the truck was. So then I moved out of the truck I found another car, similar one that I had before. And, it's a pretty extreme, maybe an expensive way to learn something, but it was really, maybe that's what I needed. But that was something that I was like, wow, that influence really kind of shot a different direction for me. And I was conscious of it, but really unconscious to it. So because that was present, in my life, then when I've been recognized, or yeah, when I was applying for jobs and recognized in different manners, I saw how I wanted to be pretty authentic in approaching it. So I got to be even more transparent with myself. And even, Lynn was present in a lot of this. And so just having that reflection from a place of, I'm not coming here to have you tell me what to do. Lynn doesn't do that anyway. That's not the way of coaching, but that I think I was able to receive that so much better. And so that's kind of like the development of me being able to say that. It wasn't just one morning I woke up and go, how do I want to look at this differently? It's been a refinement process. And, and the example that I gave, it had a little bit of a money tag to it, and it's fine. I don't bemoan it. I'm not angry. I'm not excited. I'm just like, wow, here's a really big demonstration of what is influencing me and my attachment to maybe this reflection, like this graphic that's up here, just a label that got put on here. You may like this. And she wasn't even trying to tell me this is what you should buy. She just dropped an observation in there. And so I was even recognizing how observations of people that I respect really kind of like get to be slapped onto my own diamond without a lot of, me even just dropping in there and going, does this label belong here? Is this really like a strong one that reflects a lot of me? Do I get to carve a new facet for this? Or is this kind of like misplaced?
Right. Thank you for that, Asia. Good question, Hillary. And so let's summarize a little bit for our audience, especially those who are going to come after us and listen. The message could be manyfold. You could take away your own message that none of us will know but you. Some ideas that you can take away from this discussion and this sharing is be open to the fact that you are more than you know and you are more than you think. And as you go through reinvention, you want to keep yourself open to capturing and curating a list of possibilities of what other people see, of what you see, of what reveals itself, what you're curious about. So observation and being humble enough to look at things. You'll at the end, and Hillary, I think this is where your question was going, that Asia eventually took it, I think, is that you get to be sovereign and you get to be the authority and say, yes, this is a part of me. And no, it's not a part of me, or it's not a part of me yet. You get to decide that. And if you say yes, you get to decide, well, is this a part of me that I want to use right now? I will tell everybody on this call, honestly, I've had 4 calls today before I came here. In every single call, each person has had those gut check moments where they looked at something they were good at and they had to ask, am I really good at it? Am I interested in it? Do I want to grow it? Because we have facets to ourselves that we may not want to leverage for work, or we may not want to have be part of our reinvention. They may be for our home life, or they may be something we enjoy, but not on a wholesale, on a mini scale. And otherwise, we're working from pseudo strength. You guys feel okay about that if we move forward? Do we feel it? Okay. So with that, let's now talk about another piece besides your identity and how you have many facets. Let's now talk about superpowers, unique personal needs, and interests. And a lot of these are things that you can leverage. If you don't have my book, Shannon, would you go ahead and put the book in the resources? If you don't have my book, this is a great place to start. Um, and we're going to jump in, and I'm actually going to turn to page 69 in my book and 68. So each of you take pieces of you and be thinking, Akbar, welcome from London, welcome. Think about parts of you that when you're activated, you're good at doing something. Write down a few notes about what you're good at. Give yourself about 5 of these. What are you good at? And then once you have 5 of those, just let me know and I'll know when to move to the next thing. I don't want to rush you guys. Get the benefit of this exercise. You want to have about 5 of them written up. Things you're good at. And these could be things that other people have told you or that you're aware of. It could be an assessment that we've taken together. It could be consistent feedback you've received over years. You know you're good at it. Now, out of these things, put a heart by any of them that you love. You love using this part of you. You love doing things with this part of you. Put a heart by any that qualify. And then put a star by any of these that you can improve and grow, that you know you can grow this. You can become a rock star at it. You just know if you practice it more, you're going to get better. If you use it more, you're going to get stronger. And then put an EZ, literally the letters E and Z. We're using that to be an abbreviated form of as easy. Put an easy by any of those things that you don't need to exert much effort to perform it. It's pretty easy for you. So a lot of ease and comfort. So the final little uh, emblem we're going to use is this exclamation mark, and that means big stuff. You can even put double exclamation marks or triple if you want, meaning that if you use this superpower, if you use this strength, this thing that you're good at, you can easily do big things with it. You can accomplish big, wonderful things with it. Give it some exclamation marks. Now, curious, how many of your items have a heart, a star, an easy, and an exclamation mark of some sort? Does any of you have something that has all of them? If so, those are the things to maybe focus on more than the others. This is just giving you a little bit of a rubric of how to figure out where should I focus? Because when we reinvent, we can play with things that maybe only have three of these four qualifiers. But where we really make the biggest bang for our buck is where we can have all of them. There is an exception for that. And I know every one of you on this call is probably going to know what I'm talking about. It's except when you're doing a bridge job. For instance, I know there's somebody on this call that knows what they want to do when they grow up and they're working toward it, but they're also taking part-time work or applying for jobs because you want a bridge to get there. You want the finances to be taken care of so you can concentrate on building this other thing. So bridge jobs, you want to have maybe two of these, three if possible, but don't expect to have all four in a bridge job if that helps. Any questions or comments anybody wants to bring forward right now because of that exercise? Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to segue, and just briefly, if you're interested in things like what we just did with the superpowers, definitely want to look into the book if you don't have it. This is where we talk about unique personal needs. This is where we talk about a number of other aspects of you that show you to you. Back to our first discussion is you're more than you think and more than you know if you do a little bit of research. All right, so I'm going to share the screen again and jump down to this slide and share this. So the notion that we're exploring right now is that you do not necessarily have to start over. What you're seeing here is a bit of a Venn diagram of a client who successfully went through the reinvention process with us, did this in a 12-month cycle. And one of their experiments, they're a water scientist. One of the things that they are passionate about is conservation. And one of the things that they're interested in is rap music. And so they, as one of their experiments, stayed within their own industry and played with this. And some of you on the call probably have already visited this, but there is Sandy, the brine shrimp on Instagram. And this particular person created Sandy the brine shrimp. And you'll see a couple of raps with Sandy the brine shrimp. And not leaving the industry, but finding in an experiment something that eventually helped lead to the next iteration of what the career would look like. So sometimes rather than having to start over and go completely to a new industry, you can pivot just a little bit and find more creative ways to influence your ability to earn money by being more creative or looking around the corner at something you haven't looked at before. Another example is a gentleman who started an online creative outlet for people who make things, crafters, people who want to sell their goods. He's always been creative, so he used his creativity. He's always had a belief in rock and roll, so he's been selling people's music online. And he's always had this desire to be free and to be his own boss. And recently he was reinventing after selling this digital company that he created, and he became a rock and roll musician. And that's currently what he's doing. So instead of starting over, he segued off of what he was doing before. So some of the worries in reinvention is that you have to start over, and a lot of time it's a pivot. It's going around a corner. It's stopping at an intersection and looking at your options. And instead of moving full speed ahead going forward, you make a left-hand turn or you get off the freeway on an off ramp. And so reinvention doesn't have to be a start over. It can be a pivot. It can be a recalibration. It can be isolating a section of what you've done in the past and doing something new with it. So I want to stop and just see if there's anybody that wants to comment on that. If you've had an experience with that that you can share, I'd love to hear about it because there is a myth out there that you've got to start over if you reinvent. Who wants to speak to that?
I'm curious, would you, when you're talking about the pivot, the recalibration, or even isolating something, will you speak to the isolation? Was just briefly?
Yeah, I'm glad you picked up on that. That was the last example. This guy just isolated on the rock and roll. I
Okay.
mean, and one of the things that happened in his reinvention was he was looking around his room one day while he was doing an exercise, like his office, and there was a picture of him in his little whitey tighty underwear as a kid with this huge Fender guitar on him, playing rock songs. And he looked at that and went, "That's me." And so the isolation was he had been selling rock and roll on this creative store that he'd created, and he'd always been playing, but he had never really focused on and isolated the fact that he was a musician. He's always been a musician. That little picture showed him that facet, and he found a way to isolate that part of him, use what he'd learned in marketing with his digital company, and become a musician full time. Did that answer the question?
Yes, thank
Good,
you.
good. Yeah. Any other questions or comments about that? Okay, we're going to go to the final piece, which is there sort of a roadmap? And while I'm not going to give away the whole secret of what we do here at SoulSaltInc, I'm going to give away part of the secret sauce and show you, yes, there are many roadmaps. And the roadmaps that we like to use here at SoulSalt have a holistic, very deliberate slant to them. And this is sort of what it looks like. And I'll share that right now. So you can see this. The first part is giving up that doubt and that old feeling of I'm only good if I do A, B, and C. I doubt that I can do something else. I'm afraid. So we have to do a redefining process. And in that redefining process, and I call it a process, we actually question, well, what are the assets? What are those facets to your diamond? What are those strengths? What are your must-haves? That's why we take you through the core values and the UPNs and your success metrics. What are your needs? What are your wants? So if you're coming on and you just want to use part of our roadmap, you want to do a deep dive first in understanding who you are and what assets, strengths, what do you bring to the table already that's either latent and hasn't been developed, or what have you developed that you can bring that you want to make bigger. I just did a pivot in my career based on a road trip last September when I was coming back from a trip to Canada. And I reassessed, what do I want to do with my time? I'm 65. At the time I was 65 and facing another 5, 10, I don't know how many years of work. And I was asking myself, what are my must-dos before I retire? And I found a whole new realm of coaching that I'm starting to do. So I did this assessment over the last 6 months. It's a really good thing to do no matter where you are in your career, whether you're reinventing or not, to always assess, what do I bring to the table? What are my needs, my wants, my values? Next question you can see in the next section is, well, who needs my wants and gifts? What untapped resources, what area of expertise could use me? And this is where you can enlist mentors, coaches, surveys, doing your own market research and interviews. Shannon and I are busy doing the market research on this new coaching track we're doing. And we're finding that it's like we're getting numbers like 76% female, 14% male. We're getting numbers like 72% professional women, the rest are men. It's like, get the data in front of you, do the research, because if you have something unique to offer, there is an audience for it. And then the final thing that we'll just say that we'll share a part of the map is create, invent, and experiments. Reinvention means that you try little things on. And so, Aja, your example with the truck and the car, that was an experiment, wasn't it? Yeah. And Lisa, for you, you've done experiments. I don't know if you want to talk to those, but before you landed with some of these deeper cuts into soccer coaching and administrative assisting, you had some other experiments. Is there anything you want to share about one of those? Or Hillary, I know you've done experiments. Anybody on the call want to talk about what experiments are? And while you're trying to get your experiment ideas ready to share, let me just share why we do experiments. I'm even doing experiments with this new track that we're starting to unveil. Experiments give you a chance to get in the pond and swim around and see if you like the temperature, if you like the depth, if you even like the swim. And once you find that out, if it's a no, you get out early, cut bait, and go somewhere else and experiment. If you like it, then you can go deeper. You can dive down and see what's under the surface. You could go further out and see what's in the middle of the lake or the pond. So experimenting gives you a very safe but very honest simulation into your future. That's one reasons why we use it. Lisa, what would you say about experiments?
Well, I was actually thinking that really what I'm doing right now, I'm in the middle of an experiment with the new coaching that I'm doing. Because I was coaching very little young children in soccer, and I enjoyed it, but I wanted to give some more, I wanted to be able to give more input and see more progress, and I couldn't see that with what I was doing. And so now I'm coaching an outdoor girls soccer team that kind of plays real games and does real practices and things like that. And so I'm kind of in the process of seeing how I what I like about that, how I compare it to what I previously was doing, and even what maybe I could do differently, even from that in the future, depending on what I like and don't like about it.
Yeah, oh, thank you for sharing that. I didn't know that. So that's an iteration of what you've learned from the past, and now you're testing it in a new arena.
Yeah, and I would also say that on another facet of like the personal training aspect, I haven't done much more with it, but part of the experiment was doing a training course, trying to get some certification so that I understood what it was to see if it was something I was interested in doing further. And I am interested. I just haven't followed up on that.
But you've already done enough to know that that's worth making a bigger, massive experiment out of.
Yeah. Mhm.
Got it. Thank you. Anybody listening, you can hear the iterative waves in what Lisa's saying and the wisdom behind it. Anybody else want to share? Hillary or Asia?
So I'll go. I am also experimenting right now. That peer mentor position that I have has allowed me to be in the academia environment, see if that's where I want to be. But one of the ways I like to experiment is by volunteering. So I choose events that, like, I did the TEDx where Lyn performed, but I've done it a couple times where I love TED Talks and TEDx Talks. So I thought, well, why not try it? And maybe I want to be involved in special events. So actually go and work in them. What I love about volunteering is the non-committal. You can just walk away and there's no hard feelings. So
Brilliant. Good advice. Thank you, Hillary. Asia, anything you want to say about experiments?
I feel like I'm in the middle of it myself. And I think for me, one of the most helpful ways for me to enter into an experiment is just remind myself this is an experiment, take off some of that, the weight that could possibly follow it, if I do this, it means that, just even like what Hillary was saying is like if you're volunteering, you can actually be playful with it and just kind of go, am I gonna, like jump in and how do I feel about this? So, and even putting some time and investment of even money, like coursework or whatever, that feels like a really important thing, at least for me, is to be able to be playful with it.
Love it. Really good advice. Really good advice. I am so glad that you guys that you're here, that you're attending, and that you've contributed so much. I feel like there's a lot that we've learned from one another. So if I can just recap, I want to summarize. There's more to you. You're more than what you just see on the surface. And a little bit of digging, scratching, observing shows that. You have superpowers, and those are great indicators of directions to go. And the things that you're not really great at that don't have those indications that they're superpowers, that gives you that power, kind of what you're alluding to, Asia. It says, no, negate that, move that away. Don't have that be an option. And then finally, you don't have to reinvent completely by starting over. It can be a pivot. It can be a recalibration of just a few degrees. It can be a reiteration of something that's been there, but it's been small and not isolated and enlarged. And then there is a roadmap, and you can create your own or you can join us. Shannon, do we have an offer for the 6 month that you want to, the 6 month course that uh, we're getting some really good results with?
Yes, I'll put a coupon code in the follow-up email where they can get a discount for that.
Okay, and that's our 6 month self-paced work, and you can also have the option of every once in a while, once a month, you can meet with me, and that's getting people through the reinvention process that we've shared a little bit about elegantly, effectively, and over a 6 month period, and that's a real decent amount of time. Very few people reinvent in less than 6 months, and usually it takes a year to 18 months. Thank you for everybody. Akbar, I'm so glad that you're here and just listening. We always want you to have your listening ear. Thank you for participating, Hillary and Asia and Lisa. We honored that you guys joined us today. And again, we'll be here next month supporting the reinventors out there in the world. So spread the word and send them over. Take care, everybody. Bye.